right, we're back live as usual. The big cloud formations here. Just as I was talking about the storm, we lost our connection, but we are live again. So hopefully you're gonna stick with us. So Sam is just about to work on the second side of this razor, kind of like you said, a soft kind of bowl shape, which I think is great for Abby with her beautiful bone structure. I think it happens to be something that's really happening at the moment, these rounded shapes. But in a kind of softer, less aggressive way. And I think that's one of the great reasons for doing it with the razor. So Sam, give us a recap on what you're working on now.
Yeah, so now I'm just creating the guide on the left side. I've already established the guide on the right side with a couple of sections, just making my way up with horizontal sections, again following kind of that shape of the hairline so I can get somewhat of that shape going on with the top section.
Right, so you're just kind of like emulating the hairline here and
Correct.
Curving through, and you're connecting from the bang. Is it connecting into the undercut in the back, or is it disconnected?
Not quite. It's going to be a little bit disconnected. And then once we get more back, once I can control the section a little bit more, I'm going to see where it's hitting.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so we're going to catch back up with Sam in a few minutes as he starts to work into the top. I want to walk right down the line here, Vilma, and we're going to meet Anna, who's got this really beautiful, incredible color. And we're going to bring Christina in again, who did this color, and she's going to talk a little bit about how she did this, the placement and the formulas.
Yeah, hi, this is Anna. Anna actually was a model of mine recently, if anyone saw the Aveda Jam. She was a really, really bright redhead. And so her color had faded, and she's really open. She loves anything. So we got creative. And so her base, I really went through and just sectioned off a little bit of a fringe just for some accent. You know, there's a lot of fashion color going on right now, but I love the idea of just doing an accent fringe because if she wanted to cover it later, she could. But you can get fun with it and move it around and play with it. But her base is actually, so I used all Aveda Full Spectrum Permanent Color. Her base is equal parts Violet Pure Pigment and 5 Volume.
And the base color is so beautiful too.
Thanks.
It's like grape soda.
Yes, yeah. She's kind of like a little sherbet. She's like a little grape soda sherbet. And through the ends, I just did half Universal 0N and half Violet Pure Pigment, 5 Volume again. And then through her fringe, I pre-lightened her. I went through with our Aveda Enlightener, got her to like a peachy color, and then we went through with 3 different colors. I used some of our Violet Pure Pigment, 2 grams of Violet Pure Pigment to 10 grams of Universal 0N. Her little orange, kind of her orange sherbet, is 2 grams of orange pure pigment and 10 grams of Universal 0N, and then this pretty little tealish green we have in here was 10 grams Universal 0N, 2 grams green pure pigment, 1 gram blue pure pigment, just to kind of give us a little bit more of a teal green.
Again, it's amazing to me in person how beautifully these colors go together. Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes you can't capture it on the screen. I think it can, hopefully, but if you see it in person here, this green and this purple and this yellow and this orange and the pink, really, really beautiful. So, Christina, can you tell us a little bit about how it was placed, what the actual application was?
Sure. Like I said, I went through and pre-lightened her, and then as I went through, I really wanted the colors to build on themselves, and I really wanted to go with the pink was kind of the color that made the most sense, so I actually made it the base. So the fuchsia pink is underneath, and then I went through with some heavy weaves and put in the orange, and then I put in the green on top, really more of an accent. And honestly, I did a little bit more green than I intended initially, and I love it. She was really into having some green into it.
How did that happen when you say you did a little more green than you intended?
Like as you're working.
Just because these discoveries sometimes.
Yeah, and that's what I said, like discoveries actually make the best art. I was working, we were talking about the green, and I said the word green, and I put it on when I meant to put the orange on, and I love it. And I was like, no, I'm going to leave it. It's exactly how I want it. And so it's perfect. I love it. She's, both of our friends here, Abby and Anna, are both art students. So it was kind of our inspiration.
When you kind of sent me an email, I'm going to come around here so we can talk. You kind of sent me an email saying that you were inspired by the kind of art students in Kansas City. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
I thought it was really fun what you said.
Yeah, we just love the idea. They're both art students, and I mean, they just came in looking effortlessly cool. We were like, we can't really make.
Were you doing your own hair before?
No, her friend.
Who's doing your hair? You know you have to have a license to do that. All right? I'm going to report you.
They're actually roommates, and so they came to our open model call for our Aveda show, and they just happened to be perfect.
It's amazing.
And so Gina, do you want to talk a little bit about the art school vibe too?
I just really like walking around just like on campus at the Art Institute. Everything is so effortless looking. Like you can tell that they've taken scissors and just chopped their bangs and like made this just like kind of beautiful bob, but with little intention. And then they tend to wear like a lot of just natural lived-in texture. So you can see like a random like wave here, and then maybe, you know, this side is kind of popping up a little bit. So with styling today, I kind of want to emulate that, just taking a traditional like horizontal bob and just adding that little bit of movement to it, and kind of playing with the fringe a little bit to get just some of that effortless like kind of accent piece to the front.
Awesome. So you're going to be doing some styling here. So the color is done. Thank you so much, Christina. Now Gina's going to take over. Let me introduce you guys to Gina. Everybody loves your T-shirt. So cool. She was in talk class today. Yeah. And so show us what you're going to do with the styling. Let's get into it. What tools are you going to be using?
So I'm going to use a little bit, a few different things. So I'm going to start with some shaping wax, and I'm going to really like work that in, give it some like just grip to the hair. And then we sectioned out kind of a shorter piece with some of this, the darker violet. So what this is eventually going to do is kind of lay over and kind of flip up a little bit with the fringe too, to kind of be a veil, and then just have that like kind of be the little peekaboo in the front.
Awesome. So what tools are you going to use? Are you going to use an iron, or are you going to use a brush?
To start out with, probably just my hands in the blow dryer.
Cool.
And really getting that like texture in there. And then I'm going to micro crimp the base of just that accent piece, just to give it, she has pretty fine texture, so I'm gonna give it like that little substance it needs, just right at the base.
Zhuzh it at the roots, yes.
And then use the flat iron just to kind of give that little bend to it.
All right, cool. So let's see you get started here, so we can start to see how you would approach styling this, and then we'll catch back up with Sam and his haircut. Awesome. So product-wise, what are you thinking?
This shaping wax from Aveda.
Okay. And why do you choose that? So when you're choosing product here, what do you think is going to work here?
So I prepped her with volumizing tonic and Confixer, and what that is just volumizing is going to create a nice like kind of starchiness to the hair, whereas Confixer is going to give you that that substance that you need going
Feels
through
like it's going to be really easy to work with.
Yeah. So then shaping wax on top of that is really going to give me the tackiness and kind of that like lived-in look. So I just like to apply it honestly like from the root to ends to really give that like kind of lived-in look.
Awesome. You can see it's really building up quickly just from touching it. And you feel like you need to do some more work with the blow dryer on this?
Yeah, so I'm going to take the blow dryer and use kind of that shaping wax to do just some like twisting methods, just to give you like a little bit of bend kind of going through there. I might reapply just a little bit of volumizing tonic just to give it a little bit of like wetness to be pliable.
Awesome. So why don't you go ahead and get started. We're going to catch up with Sam while he's cutting, and we'll come back and see it as it develops. All right. So now we're over here with Sam.
Yeah, I'm back just continuing to work up the head with horizontal sections. They are curved, and so I'm just kind of following that same shape around.
So tell us a little bit about, pressure. So do you have to work very heavy-handed, or is it a very light touch with the razor?
Definitely.
Tell us a little bit about what's happening there.
As I'm working up, it's becoming much more light. When I was establishing that guide, I wanted it to be a bit more defined, but as I work up towards the top of the head, I want it to be more broken up and definitely create more movement throughout those sections. Amazing. She wears her hair on the right side, so I'm going to stop at this point over here, but then I'll continue working up on the left side horizontally.
Beautiful. And again, I love the way that it's going to kind of fuse with the undercut. One of the things that I always like to say about great razor cutting, it makes hair almost kind of like Velcro in a way, so you can have different shapes and textures that you can kind of mold together or break apart. When you cut with a razor, it's almost kind of building a house out of twigs. So all those little twigs kind of fit together in a very organic way, as opposed to bricks where everything's really, really kind of solid and just in one place. So I love that. Now, can you give us a little bit, I know all day we were talking a lot about razor rotation. Can you give the viewers a little bit of a breakdown of the differences in razor position and what it creates? Just some basic razor fundamentals?
Yeah, so, okay.
Actually, testing it.
I know. Let's start over here. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'll get a
I'm
new
testing
section
it.
going.
So Sam was in class all day today, and he knew he was going to be cutting tonight. And he's like, oh, I'm going to use the razor. I'm going to use some of the stuff that we... And that's kind of the idea here, to show education being used immediately. So Sam was working with me all day today since 9 o'clock this morning, did some razor cuts with the whole group here, and now I'm putting him to the test and having him become the teacher. Because, you know, when you learn something and you teach it back yourself is when you really start to own it. So teach us, Sam. Preach.
Well, so if I was trying to create a solid line, the razor is going to be much more angled
on the edge.
On the edge,
right.
And I'm going to take short strokes.
Right.
As I rotate it, and I'm working to my right, so I'm using the tip of the blade.
Right.
So as as I start turning, I'm going to be more on a bias, and that is definitely going to create more of a diffused look.
More graduation and texture. And then what's the most extreme thing you can do with the razor? Flat razor, right on the surface. Yeah. Great. So it's pretty logical. You know, if the blade goes with the grain of the hair, you can cut very scissor-like, a little bit softer, but you're not scraping the cuticle very much. The flatter the razor gets, the more aggressive it can be. So if you're worried about frizz or flyaways or damaging hair, you don't want a flat razor. You want a razor with the edge of the blade cutting across the hair. But as you start to get to know the hair and realize where you can push the blade, you can rotate it more. Yeah, so you're kind of on the bias here, yeah? Because you don't want a really hard line or anything too solid. You're rotating it a little bit.
Correct. Just trying to break that weight up. She has fairly fine hair, but she has quite a bit of it, and it is very straight. When I cut the undercut, it was wanting to stick straight out, so I was initially going to go shorter, but the pieces were just poking straight out, and I'm like, this is probably a good length, so it will lay down on me.
Now, again, you know, one of the benefits of the razor is that with extreme textures that are extremely pokey, you know, when you really get to understand how to use the flat blade on shorter hair, it helps it lay down. Because, you know, one of the fundamentals of hair cutting is that short hair directs long hair. So even within this kind of shorter hair here, if you can put the shorter hair within each section, you can direct it and push it around. You know, and in a good way, you can bully the hair with a razor. If you push it too far, you damage it. If you understand it just right, I liken it a lot to bleach or a high lift or enlightener. You know, if you understand how to use it, you can do amazing things to hair. You can kind of bully it in a good way, because to make hair go from a level 6 to a level 10, you're bullying it. You're in control of that hair. But if you push it a little too hard, you damage it. The razor is exactly the same. If you understand the subtlety of it and how to push the hair and tweak it, when to lay off and use 10 volume, and when to go for it and use 30, that's the same thing with the razor.
I thought you didn't do color.
I don't do color. Yeah, you know, me and Lupe Voss have talked about this for years. It's the same sensitivity and sensibility. Speaking of color, lots of people have just joined us, and you can see Abby has this beautiful kind of warm, it's got coppers and blondes in it. This was also done by Christina, and I want you to talk a bit about it.
Sure. With Abby, we wanted to keep her hair color pretty natural. She's graduating school, and she's going to be looking for jobs, and she didn't want to go too crazy. But I still love the idea. I mean, normal hair color can be really beautiful as well. So I really wanted to bring out the warmth in her eyes and her skin. So her base is a Beta Full Spectrum Permanent level 6, and I actually used deep pure tones, OY, which is my favorite pure tone. It's a really beautiful gold. So it's more of a gold copper. And so we used that for her base, and I kind of pulled it through a little bit, and then I went through and really I had Sam pre-section it so that I could see how the cut was going to lay, and I just really went through with her natural haircut and natural fall of her hair and placed enlightener. And as we lifted that, I lifted it just to a nice pale yellow, and then we really wanted to bring out the gold, but in a beautiful way. So someone earlier said refined warmth, and that's exactly what I was going for. So we did
refined warmth. I was trying to think of what that comment was. Refined warmth.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we did. We used actually the Beta Blonde finishers, which we used the gold blonde finisher. So we did 40 grams of that, and then we enhanced it, you know, breaking a few rules, and used some deposit only light YO. So we did 40 grams of the gold blonde finisher with 10 grams of light YO just to really pack in that warmth. because I really wanted that pretty sunset gold color.
Beautiful. Color turned out beautiful. Lots of love for that color. Lots of love coming in for Vilma. Danielle Green says hi.
Hey, Danielle.
Yeah. Danielle's always a supporter and always spreading the love for craft hairdressing.
Yes.
Now, we do have a question coming in from Zoe Hughes. She always has great questions. She's asking if you're working on dry hair or damp hair. And tell us a little bit about how you feel about razor cutting. You don't have to use the same answer as me. Do you like to razor dry hair, wet hair? It's up to you now, Sam, just because you spent some time with me.
Generally damp hair. You want the hair to be saturated, but you don't want it to be dripping. On the rare occasion, I will do a little bit of dry razoring. What's weird is I usually use my feather.
You know, I agree. I do personally. Now, again, I'm the last person to preach dogma, and if you do what works for you, if it makes your haircuts look good, your clients love it, you understand it, you do whatever you want. But I teach what works for me, and I like to razor on damp hair, especially with the feather plie, because it's so narrow and so sharp that I find on dry hair it pulls the cuticle, and it hurts, and it can damage the hair. Where, just like what Sam mentioned, if I do want to razor dry hair, I use a guarded razor. You know, what people call like the feather. They're both made by Feather, and this one's called the Feather Plie, this one's called the Feather Styling Razor. Something about that guard allows you to work a little more freely on dry hair. So personally, I recommend if you want to razor dry hair, use the guarded. If you want to razor damp hair, use the Feather Plie, or use a little bit of both.
Yeah, so just keeping it saturated. I don't want it dripping, but definitely for the razor to glide through the hair, I need it to have some moisture to it.
So what are your thoughts about elevation here? I think, you know, a lot of people, having taught a lot of razor cutting, have trouble lifting through the top. So what are some of the tips you can give there to get some lightness and elevation through the top?
You know, really, I'm trying to create somewhat of a weight line almost in this, so I'm not really going to elevate it beyond this. Once we get to the top, I will check it, and I may do a little bit of cutting underneath.
Yeah, a little backhand cutting.
But,
all right, so that'll help you elevate through the top and break it up. So you're deliberately keeping it low to kind of keep that bowly feeling in there?
Correct.
But you might lift it up a little bit later and do some backhand razoring.
Exactly.
All right, well, we'll catch up with you on that in just a few minutes.
Right.
We want to turn around here and see how Gina is getting along with her styling. Looks like you put a lot of kind of movement into the hair there. Kind of changed it from that flat, traditional bob shape.
Yeah. So what I ended up doing a little bit with my blow dryer, but also just like barely twisting sections and just kind of following that with my flat iron just to give it that like little bit of bend. We don't want a full curl because we don't want it to look overdone. This is a very like effortless look, kind of a rolled out of bed. So just giving it that like slight bend, just to give it enough to give you that volume.
What products did you put in the hair before you blow dried? Because it seems like you're having such an easy time working with it.
The volumizing tonic and fixer.
So that gave it a lot of guts.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of rough dried it, or you blow dried it with a brush?
I did blow dry it with a Denman, just kind of flat wrapping, letting the haircut kind of fall into place. We did a lot of horizontal graduation through the nape, and then pre-cut her sides out. So
let's see that a little bit. Ooh, a little peekaboo.
So,
I love the purple on short hair like that.
Yeah, I do too.
I love that.
So with this haircut too, it's kind of cool because it collapses this from the front. So if you want to wear it really like tapered in and tight and then have volume back here, but you can also just kind of really get into the roots and just get that like kind of wig-like shape. Or we were telling her last night, coloring it, she could literally have different color every single day because she could comb that all over and like have darker. She can have like more of the green, like just having a different look every day.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the color since it's a big showpiece here. So Christina did this color last night, and it's, you know, again, sometimes these things, the subtlety is lost, especially if you have a bad connection, unfortunately. If you're out there, you have a bad connection. But if you have a good one, you can see how clear these colors are. This grape soda and these kind of oranges and greens, which are, you know, they're strong colors, but Anna's an art student, and it just looks so cool on her bone structure, her skin tone. Talk a little bit about what you did and how you achieved this.
Yeah, so on Anna, I used Aveda Full Spectrum Permanent Color. On the back of her hair, I did, or the base of her color, even under her fringe, we did kind of that grape soda color. So it's our pure pigment violet in equal parts with 5 volume. Through the ends, I mixed that half pure pigment violet with 0, just to a little dilution because she didn't need as much pigment through the bottom. And I did want that little bit deeper of a base. So I pulled some of that deeper base through too, just to give her that effortless. Once again, we didn't want it to be too done, even though we're using a lot of color and it's a lot of bold color. I didn't want it to look too
Let me ask
done.
a question. So if you were doing this on a paying client in the salon, that's my first question. Are you doing stuff like this? Is it coming into, there's a beautiful salon in the middle of Kansas City. I'm sure it's known as a cutting edge salon just after spending the day here. Are you doing this, or are you still just doing really much more commercial work?
I think I think our general guest probably is commercial, but we definitely have guests looking for this. I mean, I have the traditional soccer mom come in and say, "Can you put pink? Can you put blue?"
Yeah. So it's as we all know, it's gone more mainstream. Some
Absolutely.
celebrities have done it, and I think if we are directional, we can help people understand that.
And that's what
so
I
here's
love
my
about
next
it,
my next question: how much would you charge for something like this?
That's
So
a great
personalized. I think that's a big question.
So, I mean, if I honestly was doing this on her, I would charge her for a base color. I would charge her for a base color and then a highlight and then, like a tone. So, I mean, you want like literal how much I would charge her for this?
Yeah, no, literally, yeah. I mean, it's the hairdressers watching.
Yeah,
and
sure.
They're thinking about,
if someone came in here and actually wanted this color for me, I
this
would,
exact process.
This
that you did.
exact process. I mean, it's going to cost you close to, I would say, $200.
$200. That's kind of affordable, I think.
It's not
again,
bad.
depending on what part of the country you're in, because we all know hair goes by the zip code.
Right.
I don't mean quality-wise, I mean price-wise, because you could do something as the same quality here, and some places someone would charge $500, some places $200. So just to keep it real, we're in Kansas City, middle of America. This is a high-end salon. All you have to do is look around, and that's some of the real stuff there.
Yeah.
How much time did you spend on it?
It was pretty quick. And so part of the reason why this color would be a little bit more affordable, I have people come in and they might bring me a picture where the whole hair looks like this.
Right.
And that's kind of the idea why I wanted to just do her fringe in a framing area, is because this is something you could do on a brunette. This is something you could do on a blonde, and just give them that pop of color. Whereas when that fades, you could just go back and cover it up.
What just came to me too? Like lifesavers. When you open a pack of
Yes,
lifesavers,
yeah.
she's like a pack of lifesavers there.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so that was kind of the idea, that it was just a little, like a focus area, a framing area.
And I love the grape lifesavers too.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. So you're going to do some more stuff with the styling?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, show us.
I'm gonna start
really excited to
crimping.
see what you do with this guy, because I love the mini crimper. I've had so much fun with this. Exact same tool. It's a very mini, and it's a crimper. So I'm really excited to see what you do with the mini crimper. Are you ready to use that?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Actually, I'm gonna grab my comb here, and I might have to unplug. Hold on.
Uh-oh. Let's get in there and get you some power.
I might have to turn this a little bit.
Okay, you're
Okay.
plugged back in.
All right. So just come in here and find that little bit of disconnection.
So guys, while Gina gets ready to do some mini crimping, if you guys have any questions, please, we love to share. We've been teaching here all day with a group of probably about 16 hairdressers from Kansas City. Some people drove in from Iowa. You can see we've got some live guests that turn out just to hang out. Say hi, guys. Hi, guys. Everybody just came down. Vilma, the owner of Xiphium, invited local hairdressers. They all came down. Look, Vilma, the sun came out for you. Look at that. Look how beautiful these windows are here. All the way around the salon, and then right across the street we've got a bunch of mansions, which I love that. Look at that. So I think it's so interesting for people around the world to see different salons and like how they're located. This one's in kind of a high-end, like it's not really a full-on mall. It's just like kind of a small high-end mall inside this beautiful residential area. And I imagine that's great for business to have mansions all around your salon.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. All right, so now we're getting back to some mini crimping.
Okay. So, I mean, we can see that it instantly just gave her that like volume just right at the base, and it's already kind of starting to do what we're going to end up doing is just that little.
So you just
curve.
zhuzhed it at the roots, right? Yeah, that's awesome. So it makes that hair so pliable. Yep.
And you can do this as a base all over, but for her, we just really want to like accent that fringe and kind of give it just a little bit more life here.
So tell us a little bit, obviously people were asking a little bit about the iron. I've
Sure.
seen this one. Tell us a little bit about where this one came from, and do you know anything about it?
It came from a hair show in Chicago.
Yeah, and you just bought it. And
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I've had it in my tool for 5-6 years now, and it really does come in handy when doing updos, doing
create that
anything
texture so you can
exactly
drag
that
the
you.
hair and pull it
Obviously, you
together.
probably can't do the whole head with this because it'll take
It's a lot of
you
work. Yeah.
a lot of time.
Yeah.
But just to
Little
give that like little
spotlights.
base,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely,
awesome,
and then you can
awesome.
just back home into that.
Yeah, and a pretty, I think if you're out there and you use it, it's a good tool for retail. Because
Yes.
once clients see what it can do with the roots, that's
Absolutely.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so you're gonna do a little bit more of that?
Yeah, I am.
All right, awesome. So we're gonna come back and catch up with Gina in a few minutes as she does some zhuzhing here. We're gonna come back over and see our buddy Sam. He's starting to make some progress through the razor cut here. Recap a little bit here, Sam. Let's turn around so we can get in there. So Sam was working on kind of this modern, like bowly shape, kind of put in the fringe first, had an undercut, worked his way around with a kind of an open blade. Now what's happening?
Yeah, so now I'm just going to connect both sides that I've worked up using horizontal sections. So now I'm going to take more of a vertical section and cut from underneath. So it's the same position, just going from underneath the hair.
Again, guys, thanks for all your love for these guys. They're sharing their craft. They were in class all day today and wanted to share some of their ideas and inspirations. So now Sam's working with a little, what I like to call backhand razoring. So when you want to lift that hair up and kind of razor into it from the middle upward. So basically, Sam, you just kind of turn that razor around towards the ceiling, and then you can work in. It's a great way to put some slices in there, keep the length, but create a beautiful separation.
Oh, okay.
Now, again, obviously you have to be careful because you don't want to drive that blade right into your hand.
Right.
That's a good tip,
Some
right?
soft tissue right there.
Yeah, do not drive it in. So generally, I mean, I use it a lot for texturizing the mid shaft there, just like what you're doing. So, by cutting at a lower elevation, a kind of a bowly shape, this will put some invisible layers and texture into it.
Right, and I just want to marry the sides a little bit in case that part moves around. I mean, it's generally kind of where it needs to be, but I just want to break that up a little bit.
So, one of the questions that comes up very often is, do you ever integrate scissor and razor together?
Definitely. I'm going to after I get this dry, actually.
So you go through and you do like a little bit of your refining. Sometimes the philosophy that I say that's a little different is when you only cut with the scissor, a lot of us are trained, put in the shape wet, cross-check it, make sure it's perfect, blow dry it, and deconstruct it a little bit to make it modern, per se. Where the razor's a little different, you kind of start off with a rougher sketch. It's looser, it's more textured, it's got more movement. And sometimes after you blow dry it, you actually strengthen it up with the scissor. You seal the ends and define the shape. So it changes kind of the thought pattern of how you do things. And when you change the thought pattern, you get new results. And that's what's most important, to keep yourself stimulated, getting new results from new techniques. So tell us what you're looking for right now.
Just checking for visual balance. I'm going to go ahead and blow it out just to give it some direction. And I put some of the Brilliant damage control in it, so it's got some heat protection in it already. I'm probably going to use the Color Conserve Daily Color Protect just to add some more shine and a little bit more pliability, and probably Femollient just for a little bit of
It's a great shot. Look at that, how it started. It's got a very mod and beautiful face. Abby's got beautiful bone structure. Love the eyebrows and just the way that it's falling into place. Very kind of moppy mod. Christina, why don't you come over and talk a little bit about the color? Because I know that this color is amazing. I love what's happening. Now you can kind of see the difference between the underneath and the top. And I love the kind of warmth to it. So tell us a little bit about the formulas and what you did here as Sam begins to style.
Sure, I really worked off of Sam's haircut. So he really came in and sectioned it for me beforehand just so I could see what his plan was. So yeah, we did a little bit more depth underneath in that. Her base color is a 6 full spectrum permanent Aveda. And then the pure tone is OY, which is actually one of our deep pure tones. It's a really beautiful gold. It's an orange yellow. And I just love refined warmth. I love that beautiful golden shiny color. So we started with that as her base. And then I went through and just really went with the natural fall of her haircut and her hair, and I placed some enlightener highlights. And then we really went through afterwards and glossed those with our Inveda blonde finisher in gold. And then I actually enhanced that with a little bit of our deposit only light YO pure tone because I really wanted a lot of that warmth, refined warmth. Because my favorite thing is, if you're gonna be a warm blonde, be like a warm blonde.
Own it.
Mean it.
You're
You
owning
gotta
it,
mean
Abby?
it. Yeah.
And the makeup really matches beautiful because there's kind of that bronzy color in there. Really, it's all working for me right here. Thanks, Christina. So Sam, tell us a bit about the product that you're using and what you hope to, achieve.
Yeah, so she has finer hair. I don't want to get anything too heavy on it. Again, just the Brilliant Damage Control is going to help get that heat protection in there, and I was using that also to help the razor glide as I was cutting. Also using a little bit of the Color Conserve Daily Color Protect just to keep this healthy and protect it. We're going into the warm months with people out in the sun and all that. That has some UV filters that'll help block that and also add some shine. And then Femollient just to add a little bit of control and some shine.
So again, we've seen it in fashion and a bit, these kind of rounded bowly shapes. I know that maybe that's not the most attractive word, but that's what people are using, kind of bowly shapes. Coming back into fashion, some celebrities, some models. Are you seeing it trickle down to the salon in Kansas City? Are people coming in saying, besides beautiful art students, are people coming in and saying, I want a rounder shape or a bowly shape?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think there's variations on that. You kind of blur that line between pixie and bowl cut. And,
right.
We have some stylists here that work here that have the bowl cut going on. So
that really helps,
when
doesn't
people
it?
see it, they,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when people are in a salon and they're exposed to, hairdressers, stylists, receptionists that have certain looks, they think, well, maybe I can get one of those too, and the images that are around. So I see you guys have a lot of photography around here. Are you doing it as a team? I can see you have some of your images. I recognize them obviously because I spend so much time on social media, especially our curly friend here. I know that was featured on Hairbrained because I was just like, my hair used to look like that before it started to recede. Yeah. So are these photo shoots you guys are doing here? Velma, you can talk about it.
Yeah.
Behind the camera.
Actually, they are, and we collaborate quite a bit as a team. And
Awesome.
our team, a lot of times they'll come to me. They'll come to me and say, hey, we're ready to do something.
Right.
And I don't have to ask.
Right.
And as you know, a lot of them were here last night.
Yeah.
For today.
Awesome. So, all right, let's get back into the styling now. So you're doing a little bit of wrap drying. Tell us why you chose this approach. It's funny because it seems like every hairdresser on HB Live does wrap drying, and people are always like, aren't you going to use a round brush? And it's like, always no.
Yeah, I mean, if it called for a round brush, I definitely would. I'm really just wanting to let what is happening happen. She has straight hair, so it's not like I'm going to have to really, flatten it out that much.
Yeah, just trying to smooth the cuticle, get some direction happening. Excellent. I mean, I love this already. I just love that. When it's good, it's good. Yeah, when the haircut is good, it is the style.
Yeah, and that was the other thing with the color. We did want to really accentuate that top, so it was like, I really kind of had to show her, where do you want that to stop? And it was like, I just want to get that top light just so it creates somewhat of a shadow underneath.
Amazing. So as Sam begins to do some wrap drying here, we're going to move back over to Gina and see what happened with that root crimping. I think we probably got lots of volume and a little bit of, I call it zhuzh because when I first saw this
Literally,
technique.
it could just stand up on its own.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right
It
on.
could be a cockatoo.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just great. It's a great little accent piece. So from here, I'm just gonna use my flat iron and just flip out the ends just a touch. We don't want to get a curl, but just give it enough that it's like intentional kind of going over, and then having that color lay underneath, it's kind of showing that off a little bit more through the fringe too.
Now, Gina, you've got great hair. Let's get a look at Gina's hair. Do you use the micro crimper on your hair?
I need to incorporate it more.
Yeah. and what's happening with your color? I love that acid green underneath. Is that something you did too?
I didn't do
No,
didn't do it.
Chelsea did it.
Oh, Chelsea did it. Ah, hiding out in the corner there. I love it.
Yeah, so
It's very unexpected, the acid green there.
I did the rose gold, or the rosy kind of color on top for my wedding, and then it was post-wedding rebellion to put the green under there and just get a little crazier.
Congratulations.
So,
When
thank
did
you.
you get married?
March 3rd.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Right on. Great. So now switching to just a straight iron,
Yep.
what's the plan here?
So just literally kind of, the micro crimping was just about 2 sections at the base. So we're going to start here and just kind of prep it with the heat, but you don't really want to start the bend here. You want to start it kind of naturally where it's wanting to bend and curl.
So
And
just
gonna-
being here for the past day, I know a lot of you guys have been talking about Kansas City Fashion Week.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you guys were doing and what happened at Kansas City Fashion Week.
Well, Kansas City Fashion Week, we've done it for the past 4 years. So it's kind of cool for us to see it grow just over the past 4 years and just getting the community more involved. We get the opportunity to work with some really talented people. So that's really fun. A lot of our artists go into it and they know they can trust us, so they give us a lot of like the creative freedom.
So the designers are letting you really,
Yes.
it's not like that at New York Fashion Week,
not.
I promise. I
But
promise.
here in the Midwest, they
Well, that's great. You guys have that
exactly.
respect level where they're
Yeah.
letting you kind of choose
Well,
what you
and
want to do.
we also still want the idea to still be about the clothes and just the whole presentation.
Of course.
So just knowing that and even just pulling looks from New York Fashion Week and being able to replicate that for our designers is something that we really take pride on. We practice a lot going into it so that when we go, we just know what the plan is going into it.
Awesome.
So-
Great. So what else is going to happen with the styling here? Is there some more magic happening? Or
Styling, we're gonna build this up and then just use some control force to kind of just really get that like random texture going on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I love this like bustle that's happening right here. Tell us about the haircut.
gonna ask
Yeah,
if
because
you could
the haircut kind of is producing everything here.
So the haircut was kind of a longer version of what Ricardo did at the Aveda Jam. So I just built it up with some horizontal graduation. She had pretty great hair for that because it was pretty straight, texture really finer, so just easy to section that out. I did use just shears and then kind of in the nape just undercut that just a little bit just based off what she had previously there, kind of
So is
building
that scissor over comb or did you use a clipper?
I clippered the very bottom and then I did just shear over comb just through that, and then through the sides I did use clippers just to get that clean look there. But
And I love, I always love when these kind of abstract colors like purple on short hair.
yeah,
That always looks so good.
so I'm just getting a little funky
Christina,
in
any
here.
tips on, was this was already buzzed when you colored it underneath here?
Yeah, Gina actually pre-cut her for me.
Any tips, because I know sometimes in my experience it can be hard to get color even when on these very short areas. Is there anything you can share?
I would say the biggest thing is always saturation, especially when you're working with our pure pigments or any pure tones or pure pigments that's just really based on just lots of color. You really have to saturate with those. And I think it seems almost counterintuitive sometimes because you think it's such a saturation of color, but you really have to go in, and I go against the grain with the grain all around and just really make sure she's super, super saturated.
Awesome, great
Yeah.
tips.
Yeah.
All right, it sounds like Sam's just finished his blow dry, so let's come back over here and catch up with him as he starts to do his refining. So again, for those of you that are just joining us, Sam did kind of a bowly razor cut where he came in through the fringe and worked away around an undercut. You can see that roundness. Then he used some backhand razoring to soften up this top. And now he's going to go and do some detail work with the scissor or shear, depending on your proclivity.
Yeah, and really, the top turned out pretty well. I'm just going to kind of go through and fill where there's some weight. I was kind of noticing, some of that, some of her natural hair is just wanting to pop out a little bit, so I'm just going to refine that a little bit just so it lays down.
Awesome.
Let's see. So yeah, I'm just going to slide cut a little bit through.
So walk us through, give us some tips on, the scissor for this type of work and slide cutting.
Right, so I generally want to go in the direction that I want that hair to lay. Around the ear can be a little bit tricky. I'm actually just going to pinch a little bit and then just slide through just to take some of that bulk out.
So are you opening and closing the scissor without closing it all the way, or are you just sliding it right through?
I'm opening and closing it just a little bit, and I'm just
so it doesn't tear the
chiseling
hair
away a
so
little
much.
bit.
It just does
Right.
like micro cuts, and again, it can push it and control it and put it in certain directions, can it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I do like that it's got this shape going on, and the color is definitely highlighting that.
So your goal wasn't to kind of cut it out around the ear. You like that little bit of
Right.
grown out quality. Yeah, gives it some softness.
And especially with the way that hair was reacting with cutting it shorter initially, it was like she's got a wedding coming up to go to. She's got some things happening.
Oh my
where
God,
it's
are you
not
going to be
gonna-
able to put in a French twist? You're an art
Might be
student.
close.
Be a rebel. I'm going to a wedding. Please don't expose my ears. Leave a little bit covering my ears. Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm just generally kind of opening and closing, sliding, breaking that up around the face a little bit. I do want the general idea to go forward on this haircut, so that's probably the direction I'm going to go once I get up.
What kind of art do you do, Abby? What's your thing?
Ceramics.
Ceramics, really?
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you ever see Ghost?
I actually haven't seen it, but I've heard that question.
You haven't seen Ghost? You do ceramics, and now you have a bowl cut? You got to see Ghost, right? That's like the two things that go together. Bowl cuts and Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze, too. God rest his soul, right? Yeah. Okay, so now switching over to the other side. What's happening
just kind of checking out, seeing what's happening. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to break it up. And I think this is going to definitely be a haircut that she doesn't have to work a lot with, you know. Maybe run that dryer through a little bit, but she has great texture. And
yeah, it's the cut that counts, really, in this case. So tell us a little bit about the scissor or shear that I have to use both, because if I say just shear, there's people that say scissor get mad, and if I say just scissor, the people that use shear get mad. I'm always in the middle of this debate. So Tame Tomoshigi has asked who gets it, if you do scissor / shear cut, what scissors / shear, that's a mouthful, put my teeth back in, do you use? So tell us a little bit about the scissor / shear that you're using.
So I've got some Mizutanis. I haven't had them very long. I love the weight that they have. They cut really smooth. I've got some Hikaris that I love as well. It's just,
so you got all, I noticed that right away about the crew here. You guys pretty much all have the top quality equipment, which I obviously love, being a tool snob, and I think it makes a big difference. You know, my philosophy is that a craftsman's only as good as his tools.
Right.
I don't think the tools will make you a good hairdresser, but if you're a good hairdresser and you use good tools, it does make a difference.
Yeah. My hands, I do have a bit of an allergy to metal, and these black coated ones are supposed to help with some of the reactions that can happen on your hands, and it has changed. I usually get some bumps on my hands, but haven't had any with these. So,
awesome, awesome. So that black coated scissor from Mizutani, if anyone's watching and has an allergic reactions to metal, that's good to know. We sell one Mizutani scissor / shear on HB Pro. It's the one designed by Score and Barbers, so it's for barbering. The scumbag scissor. So what's happening now? Are you taking the color into consideration as you do this?
Yeah, I noticed there wasn't a lot going on underneath there, and I don't want to break up that line too much. I'm just going through and taking out a little bit of weight on the perimeter line that we created. Awesome. And just kind of feeling it as I go, seeing if I feel any areas that have more weight than others, and just going to break it up a little bit more.
Yeah, everyone's saying how great it looks and how much it suits you. Our friend Zoe Hughes is saying this shape really suits you, suits your face. I think pretty much anything would suit. How old are you? 21 years old? 21. Yep. 21 years old, yeah. I'm double that, at least, and then some. So nothing suits me except a bag over my head. But what can you do? What can you do? All right, so do you think you're almost there, or like, how do you know? So this is sometimes what comes up with these like loose, somewhat deconstructed shapes. How do you know when you're done?
You know, this is the heavy side over here, so I am going to work a little bit over here just to break that down. And then I'm going to get some.
So when you say heavy side, do you mean that's because the hair
correct
pushes that way?
And, you know, with her part being on the right, there's more hair that's going to build up. Luckily, with doing some of that pre-lightening with the razor today, that helped.
Makes a big difference.
But I just want to go through and just make sure that I'm taking out a little bit of a weight just to make that shape push forward a little bit.
A lot of love coming in. Jennifer Elliott Butler says Sam and Christina are flipping amazing. My buddy Jeremy Hickson is here. Hi, Jeremy. I got my blazer on for you tonight. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. Jeremy, we've done kind of a bowly cut with the razor. There was an undercut, and then Sam came in and kind of done like a rounded kind of bowl cut and then layered it through the top, and now he's defining it with the scissor. I was here all day in Kansas City at Xiphium Salon. Vilma asked me to come in and do a class for her staff and some of the friends. So I was here all day cutting hair with these guys since 9 a.m. this morning. And they had a couple great models, and we said, hey, let's do an HB Live and let's show some of the great work from the team here. They grabbed these models last night and they pre-colored them, did some amazing work, which is really what it's all about, guys. If you want to do something fabulous, you got to put yourself out there. Look at the gorgeous models that they found, look at the color that they did, and then they really kind of put it out there to push it to the next level, and that's why we're seeing this right here. It's amazing work.
Yeah, and just taking sections that look a little bit long now and just pinching it a little bit, doing a little bit of slide cutting down just to break that up around her face.
So again, recap the product. Zoe was asking what product she used and what did you use to finish?
Yeah, so I was using Brilliant Damage Control as I was razoring just to give the hair a little bit of slip. It also has a heat protectant in it. Once I was getting ready to style, I put in Color Conserve Daily Color Protect, which adds great shine and also has UV protectant in it. And then Flamoyant just to add some light control and some shine.
And then after that, are you going to add anything else?
Yeah, so I'm probably going to use a little bit.
I like just moving that bowl around. I get into that, yes.
I think maybe some control paste, actually.
Awesome. So that'll be your finishing touch?
Right.
All right, once you get started on that, we'll come back for a very, very final. Let's go see our friend Gina over here and see what she's been up to with this incredible color and the styling work. And maybe we'll review this color one last time.
Yeah, so I actually even went into kind of the base on the sides too and added a little bit more crimping. Trying to find it. But just to give her, because she is hollowed out here, just to give her a little bit more kind of volume through and
so because of the undercut, you wanted to give a little more. And you can kind of see, you know, and again, it's subtle, but you can see the roundness in the mirror there. It does look so great on your face. Let's look this way. So you can see that kind of shape there. The subtlety of the roundness there, but I really dig that.
And then again, I just like took my flat iron and barely just kind of tapped it just to give it that like kind of bend up. And just kind of working that, and then I'm gonna finish it with Control Force hairspray. I do love working with this hairspray because it's pretty pliable. You can move it. Once you spray it, you can still brush through it if you need to as well. So it's just one of my favorite kind of working tools.
So as you do that, I want to mention that Danielle Green, I have to read what she said here. Got to go, but thank you HB for featuring Xiphium Live. It's well deserved. I have to shout out to Vilma for providing so much education to me back in the earlier days with her. Vilma is a great teacher and mentor. Forever grateful. Yay. And that's what this is all about. Yeah. Woo! That's what this is all about, and that's why Vilma has this incredible salon and a team of people that all seem to work together so well. It all starts with mentoring, teaching, and sharing, which is what it's all about. Let's come in one final time, Christina, and talk about the color here because it's just so incredible. The lifesavers, the fruit,
the sorbet,
Fruit Loops. The Fruit Loops.
Well, actually, last night the girls were supposed to go to like a Miami Vice party?
Miami 90s, yeah.
Miami Ice, yeah. And so we're like, oh, this is perfect.
Right?
But on Anna's color, I really worked with all of the Aveda Pure pigments. So her base color was Violet Pure pigment and 5 volume, equal parts at the scalp, diluted with 0.5 through the ends. And then I pre-lightened through her fringe and just a little bit around her face. And on the fuchsia Lifesaver color, I used 10 grams of Universal Zero N with 2 grams of Violet Pure Pigment. Her orange was 10 grams Universal Zero N, 2 grams of Orange Pure Pigment, and then her beautiful little green pieces are 10 grams Universal Zero N, 2 grams of Green Pure Pigment, and 1 gram of Blue Pure Pigment, just for that really pretty kind of tealy green. All of those with 5 volume color catalyst.
Awesome, so much fun color there. All right, Gina, thank you so much for styling this hair and having fun. Thank you, Christina, for this incredible color. Again, let's get one final look there. Christina played a bit with the styling and just really brought out the color. Looks amazing. We've got love coming in from Scotland. Eve Singh is watching, really loving this. Liz Suku says it's fabulous, awesome. So to wrap up, let's come back over to our buddy Sam, who's been cutting here for the past hour or so with Abby and done this beautiful kind of bowly deconstructed shape. Why don't you give us a quick recap and let's get a final look at this beautiful shape.
Yeah, so we undercut it mainly scissor over comb, then we took horizontal sections working up through the disconnected section with the razor. Started out with a fairly strong perimeter and then did some pre-lightening with it and cut a nice shape in, detailed with the scissors, and then just funked it up a little bit.
Awesome, you look beautiful, Abby.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're ready for the wedding and the updo, and we'll put a few curls in there, don't worry. Right? Thank you, Sam, beautiful job. Great spending the day here with Xiphium and the team. Gina, Christina, come on in. It's been a pleasure. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and these guys, they really put themselves out there, did beautiful work. Thank you.